Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the September 12th, 2018 meeting of the Rotterdam Town Board. This evening, we had our agenda meeting. We began at approximately 5:40 p.m. tonight, and at approximately 6:41 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christou, second by Mr. Signor, we entered executive session to discuss employment of employee number 09122018. All voted in favor to enter executive session, and then we exited executive session at 6:50 p.m. with a motion by Mr. Christou and a second by Mr. Signor. Again, all for voting affirmatively to exit executive session. Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Present.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Present.
Mrs. Miller-Herrera? Present. Mr. Signor?
Present.
Mr. Thomason?
Present.
5 present.
Okay, would you all please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you would all just please remain standing. Also, I'm sorry, I should have said that at the beginning. I apologize. I'll just have a moment of silence to remember and pray for the victims of the terrorist attacks on September 11th, 2001, and for their families, for the EMT, fire, police, all first responders, medical personnel, and their families. Let us pray for our military personnel serving around the world, and particularly in Afghanistan and Iraq, and remember and pray for those who have made the ultimate sacrifice. Thank you very much.
Amen.
So this evening we have a couple of public hearings, and during public comment and privilege of the floor, also just as a matter of course, we ask if you would please keep your comments to approximately 4 minutes. I will set up the timer for myself mostly, but I'll put my hand up if you're getting towards the 4 minutes and ask you to kind of close. But I appreciate your assistance there so we can keep the meeting moving. So our first public hearing?
To amend Chapter 266, Section 46 of the Code of Town of Rotterdam entitled Vehicles and Traffic, Schedule 9, stop intersections as follows. Install stop signs on Miles Standish Road at the intersections of Santa Lane heading east, and on Miles Standish Road at the intersection of Silversmith Lane heading west.
Okay, do you have somebody?
I do. Bruce Bonnequist.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bruce Bonnequist, 61 Miles Standish Road, and I'm here in support of the installation of the stop signs at this intersection. I also brought a petition with me signed by approximately 37 local residents local to that intersection. The petition states in part, the speed of vehicles traveling on Miles Standish Road has created a hazardous condition in the vicinity of this intersection. The danger has also jeopardized the safety of elementary-age children whose bus stop is located at the intersection, and other young children living and playing near this intersection. A recent police department traffic study determined that 43% of the westbound traffic exceeded the speed limit, while 20% of the eastbound traffic exceeded the speed limit. Now, I want to note that there's a very large radar sign facing the eastbound traffic, which tells these folks what their speed is, and it says, please slow down. And in spite of being notified that they are in fact exceeding the speed limit, as I said, as the study determined, 20% of those folks sped through the intersection. So I have the petition that I can give to the town clerk, and I also request that the town board act on the local law to install these speed limits at tonight's meeting. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bruce, quick question for you. I think when we spoke about this, those numbers you gave too were during, I think we were looking at a report during the
They were during the
summer,
months.
when there wasn't the through traffic getting people through Offagill and into Mahonison, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
So we would anticipate there to be a higher rate?
Yeah, the study was conducted from June 25th through July 12th.
Right. So I mean,
So the traffic does pick up because
Right.
as you noted, and
Yep.
you actually came out and walked through the neighborhood and visited with several of the residents. A couple of them are here with me tonight, and you were able to see what was going on. But yes, the traffic does pick up once school is back in session.
Bruce, who's the gentleman with the sign on his tree that says, please slow down?
That's Mark Schultz. He's
It's your tree, Mark?
Right.
Okay, I didn't know how far your property extended, so it's your tree, okay. All right, thank you. Bruce.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
That's it for the.
That's it for both. Just before I close the public hearing, I just want to say that we, as a matter of business and matter of course, the resolution for this public hearing or the resolution for the matter of the installation of the stop signs will be included in our next meeting. Our next meeting is in the junction on the 26th. And so rather than wait for the meeting in October for here, that, just so you know, that's where we'll be. Okay, I don't want you to come here in case you want to come speak again on the matter. So anyone else for the public hearing this evening? Anyone else for the public hearing this evening? Anyone else for the public hearing this evening? No, okay, declare the public hearing closed, and we'll move into public comment privilege of the floor. Ms. Marco?
Michael Jenkins?
How you doing? My name's Michael Jenkins. I live at 450 Maybe Lane, Rotterdam Junction. And basically here to talk about my neighboring property, Sunshine Auto Junkyard. Residents living there, as far as I know, they don't have a certificate of occupancy or a septic system of any sort. The fence at the property at this point has fallen down. Much of it's been propped back up, not really to the 8-foot code that it states. And I talked to Jim Keefe back on June 15th. He did an inspection initially. My understanding was the town code to correct this stuff was 60 days, and we're approaching 90 at this point. So I just kind of wonder if any movement has been made on this and what kind of progress there's been.
I can, I don't like to answer during the, but you and I had a brief discussion, so I'll answer quickly. As I said to you, I went out to the property a couple months ago and met with the owner of the property. I do have an upcoming meeting with the owner of the property, and that's really all I can say at this point, but we are moving, I think, in a real positive direction, and I'll keep you apprised, later on of what's happening. Okay, Mr. Jenkins?
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks for coming tonight,
Yeah,
too.
appreciate it.
Joe Mealy?
Good evening. My name is Joseph Mealy. I reside at 1104 Barber Drive. What am I doing here tonight? I listened to Steve last night. He came to our senior citizen meeting. I still had a few questions in my mind. I'm not going to bug you about the brass rail because conditions being that thing solved itself. I'm not going to hit you with the emergency shelter grant because again, that's on hold. But I want to add one thing about the shelter grant. You've had that money available for at least a year and a half. After it was awarded, there was a waiting period over a year before it got released, but not to you people directly.
Correct.
You pay a bill, then you seek reimbursement. I know how that works. At the time that grant was written, it was estimated that the south side of that building would cost $40,000 to have the roof fixed. You people paid $68,000. We're waiting, pushing it back. The inflation's going up and up. So that money that's available for all these other projects isn't going to be there eventually because of the waiting. But that's neither here nor there today. Today we're talking about closed senior center, closed indefinitely. I know you mentioned the need for fire alarms, smoke alarms. It's understandable. But what I can't understand is why that can't be repaired on an emergency basis now to get us back into our home, our place where we go to meet friends, come and exercise, learn to sew, knit, play billiards, shuffleboard, bingo, people are learning Italian. We take safe driving courses. People have their blood pressure checked. Some women are in a wee bowling league that meets over there. People do ceramics. At one point, it was a nice place to have either breakfast or lunch. We seniors hold their meetings there. We also have seasonal parties. We have a monthly Sunday movie that we put on, and it's open to all the people of Rotterdam, no charge. It's a place where you people are holding the outdoor concerts, which really kind of flopped this year, I understand. I didn't go myself. That was my problem. It's a place we go for flu shots. Again, why can't emergency repairs be done? Then after those are done, you can have the proper alarms installed correctly. And I think you people, Rotterdam seems to have more water leaks and broken pipes at the senior center than you people have had on Curry Road. So maybe, just maybe, you ought to look into getting water sensors put in the basement and other areas of that senior center. And you say we can't get in there for our own protection. Who's protecting our stuff that we have there? We as a senior group have anywhere from $12,000 to $15,000 of equipment we purchased. But there's a fire. There's no alarm going off right now. There hasn't been an alarm going off for 2 weeks. So who's protecting our stuff? Excuse me. You people close the building. You didn't even give us an hour, say, hey, we're gonna have to close the building. Come over. If you need materials or anything, come and grab them. We had no opportunity. We have a meeting, we had to scramble to find a place to have a meeting. If we want to serve refreshments, we have to go out and buy all our supplies and things. We have these things in a cupboard over there. We have a pantry in the kitchen with all our other supplies, and we have no access to them. The ceramics room, they serve some retarded children over there, handicapped and retarded children. And these kids paid for ceramics to be fired and made, and the government has no way to get them out. And this means a lot to these people. You know, the impact goes a long way. And I mean, you say you're trying. How come Saratoga can have a fire in their city center, and they come out within a week and say, we're going to be open within 30 days. We're going to do our repairs and be open. I mean, you can't even say we're going to be open in 14 days, so you have a fire alarm. These are questions. My other question is, are we going to wake up one day and see in the paper where you decided that it's too expensive to repair the senior center, so we're going to have the grand opening of the Hamburg Street Senior Apartment Complex? Really? No. It's going through. I hear it from everybody. What are they going to do? That's what people want to know.
I thought I was pretty clear last
Well,
night
you know,
what we're doing.
you
I'll
spoke to 70
say some
people.
things again, and I apologize for that if I'm listening.
You spoke
I
about.
I asked for questions as well.
Yeah, you spoke to about 70 people.
Yeah.
But how many seniors are in Rotterdam?
There's
There's
thousands.
over 8,000 seniors.
Sure, I know that.
Maybe, just maybe, it'd be nice to put something in the paper so everybody knows what's going on.
Okay.
Not only the seniors, but the people of Rotterdam that pay the taxes. All right?
So, yes, thank you.
Done.
Okay, all right.
I just want you to know our displeasure.
Mr. Mealy, I took some notes, and when we get to the meeting under miscellaneous, I think I have a lot of answers to those
Can I add
questions.
one more thing?
Sure.
You know, you got all this repair from the water damage, you got the repair and renovations for the other thing. Maybe you ought to look at hiring a project manager.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah,
That's exactly what we're
because
doing.
Otherwise, you guys are gonna sit on this for another 2 years.
No, we're not gonna sit on it.
Well,
No,
come on
that's
now.
not an accurate statement. And
You
you'll see when I
know
respond
what
to
you've
you.
done.
It's overstated.
I know exactly what we've done.
Yeah.
You've
I know
overstated
exactly
that,
what
Mr.
we've done, and I have it all written down, and I'll be glad to
You've
answer.
overstated that.
No, I haven't
I
overstayed.
appreciate it. You did. So I guess I'll say this. So let me just cover part of this now. Last night I went to the association meeting because I was invited to do so. And if there's something that I wasn't clear on, my apologies. The building does not have adequate fire and smoke alarms. Everything that we have to do now has to be brought up to code. It's not a situation where we can just open it if we wanted to. That's just not possible. We have to bring the building up to code, just with the fire and smoke alarms. As I said last Friday, I walked the building with professionals from a company that's coming in to do all that. They have to design the entire system because of the nature of the building, because it is an old building. So it takes time for them to design the systems that they need in order to ensure and effectuate proper signaling from one level to the other, from one room to the other, et cetera. So it's not as simple as going in and installing battery operated or even wiring some smoke or fire alarms. It's just not that simple. Also, the exterior panels that have to be installed have to be able to communicate with the entire system so that when a firematics professional has to respond, or an EMS person, somebody has to respond to the building, they can see from, without really getting into the building, what's happening in that building. They'll be able to know that before they even enter. We had a toilet that leaked. It leaked from the second floor down into the first floor into the basement. It destroyed the brass rail. And for approximately, probably a week and a half to 2 weeks, it was just cleanup work. Just cleanup work. Drilling, taking all the debris out, it took a long time. To be able to dry out the building, quick response came in on an emergency situation, and they dried out everything, and they just gave us the authority to go back in there recently. So it's not a situation where we were trying to keep people out, we had to, because of the nature of the damage and the nature of the potential for mold, et cetera. Also, we did not know whether there were any of the material that was to be removed that had asbestos in it. That had to go out and be tested. So that's not an overnight test. It just doesn't happen quickly, unfortunately. So, as I said last night, the center is going to reopen. There's going to be reconstruction in that center. We're not closing the center. It's going to reopen. I don't know how else to convince you of that. Also, the money that we had from the insurance company, as I said last night, they're giving us an advance. We're getting that system put in as soon as possible. And as soon as that system is in, the fire and smoke system is in, the building is reopening. And from there, like I said last night, we'll hopefully get a couple of three of the folks from the association working with our engineer and architect, project manager group, if you will, and from a local engineering firm in the Capital District, and be able to redesign the building and to ensure that the building is there for the next 50, 100 years. That's what we're doing. So if there was something that I miscommunicated last night, I apologize. I can't make it any different. Those are the steps that we have to take in order to reopen that building.
Mr.
If you want to,
Supervisor,
go ahead.
may I ask how
Sure.
long they anticipate it to take, because I haven't gotten an update on the senior center.
Yeah, that's good. So-
This is the first time hearing.
Yeah, for sure, yeah, so, we met Friday, so we're hoping that, I say hoping, that sometime next week, we're gonna have the design and the information from the company. They're on state contract.
But how
So
long before our seniors can be back in the building?
It'll hopefully be sometime next month.
Okay. Have
I
we
just
looked
don't-
for alternate locations in the meantime? I know I offered to look into it and didn't hear back.
Yeah, one of the things I think is that when I was speaking to a few folks last night, I mean, it's one of those things where everyone wants an insurance certificate, and it's sometimes difficult to find a place, which is unfortunate. But I mean, you can very well meet here. I mean, that's not a problem for us to meet here. I don't know why, but that may be a better central location for you. I don't know.
That was never on the table, so.
Oh, I don't know why it would have been. So okay, that's I don't understand that at all.
Mr. Mealy, with some of the concerns, I know it doesn't resolve everything, but if there was an alternative location until next month when you can get back into the senior center building.
Yeah,
Would that help
yeah.
at least a bit? It doesn't help you get ceramics fired
No,
and things, but it
you
gives
know
you a
what?
meeting location.
It keeps the people coming to that building, because if they can't come to that building, they're gonna find someplace else to go. They've done that for because of the brass rail, they go over to Schenectady Senior Center twice a week for that. You know, they're finding activities there, so, you know, if they can get it there, they're gonna go there, and once you're there, you're not gonna come back.
Would it be helpful if, so you'd prefer to keep something in town and not to have us work with one of the other municipalities to make their services available?
You know, we're talking about people that are 70s, 80s, who's got canes, who's got a walker,
Absolutely.
you know, and so you have to try and keep it close to their home.
Absolutely. No, I absolutely agree. You know, I just, for a short period of time, we're not necessarily, even if we are able to find an alternative location, I don't know we'll be able to provide food and lunches for sale at those locations, whereas the Hibernians does have that set up for Schenectady. But if the preference of the group is to have something local, even if that service can't be provided, I think that's something we could look into and try to get up and running.
I think that would be nice.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else with public comment? No, that's it, okay, all right. So let's go into the motions and resolutions. Ms. Marco, motion?
Motion 22.18, motion to amend, motion 21.18.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll make the motion.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Anyone with a question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, motion 2218 passes. Resolution 24818.
Adopt the meeting minutes from the August 8, 2018 Town Board meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 24818 passes. Resolution 24918.
Appoint James Gibson of Rotterdam, New York, to the position of seasonal laborer at the Town of Rotterdam Highway Department, retroactive to August 27, 2018 through August 31st, 2018, at an hourly rate of $10.50.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5
Okay,
yes.
resolution 24918 passes. Resolution 25018.
Call for a public hearing to be held on Wednesday, September 26, 2018, at the Rotterdam Junction Volunteer Fire Department, 1215 Main Street, Rotterdam Junction, New York, 12150. Upon adoption of a proposed local law of the year 2018 for the following purpose. Amend Chapter 270 zoning, Section 270-56, special uses to include hotels and motel, as defined under Section 270-5, definitions as a special use in the B1 Retail Business District.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, second, please.
A second.
Second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Resolution 25018 passes. Resolution 25118.
Declare the Town of Rotterdam as lead agency and authorize the town planner to prepare, file, publish, and distribute all necessary documents to comply with 6 NYC-RR Part 617 and State Environmental Quality Review Act relative to the proposed code amendment request as follows. Amend Chapter 270 zoning, Section 270-56, special uses to include hotels and motel, as defined under Section 270-5, definitions as a special use in the B1 Retail Business District.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, second, please.
Second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Cousteau?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 25118 passes. Resolution 25218.
The town board of the town of Rotterdam hereby accepts a solar facility decommissioning bond in accordance with the code of the town of Rotterdam, section 270-153, entitled Solar Farm, from Westchester Fire Insurance Company, 436 Walnut Street, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 19106, in the amount of $93,000.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Mr. Gitterelli. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, call the roll, please.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 25218 passes. Resolution 25318.
Authorize the supervisor to accept an easement from the estate of Edward N. Gifford for the property known as 132 Pattersonville Rhinex Corners Road, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, in a manner to acceptable to the town attorney and in the town of Rotterdam.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, second, please.
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Gitterelli. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, 25318 passes. Resolution 25418.
Authorize the supervisor to accept permanent and temporary easements for emergency water connection from Little Falls Lumber Incorporated for the property known as 1870 Hamburg Street, Schenectady, New York, 12304, in a matter acceptable to the town attorney and the town of Rotterdam.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Second. Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, please call the roll.
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 25418 passes. Resolution 25518.
Authorize the supervisor to enter an agreement with KB Group of New York Incorporated, 100 Great Oaks Boulevard, Suite 114, Albany, New York, 12203, for various engineering services.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question?
I'd just like to say that even though there's, significant sums of money attached to this resolution, that it's nice to see some of these projects getting moving and going in the right direction to benefit the whole town.
Thank you. Okay. Any other question, anyone? No? Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 25518 passes. Resolution 25618.
Authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Empire Engineering PLLC, 1900 Duanesburg Road, Duanesburg, New York, 12056, for professional services associated with park improvements at the Eunice Esposito Park, and an amount not to exceed $22,500.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Anyone on the question?
Mr. Supervisor, just like the last resolution, it's nice to see that we're gonna get some improvements at the park and get, things moving in the right direction. Our parks, some of them need some significant assistance in getting up to, safety and, just being a nice place to hang out. So I'm glad that we're moving in the direction of this.
I agree.
Thank you. Okay, anyone else on the question on 256? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 25618 passes. Resolution 25718.
Authorize the supervisor to enter an agreement with the Chazen Companies, 547 River Street, Troy, New York, 12180, to analyze a map, plan, and report submitted for a requested expansion of the sewer district number 7 for the Whispering Pines Senior Living District.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Ms. Miller Herrera. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question?
Mr. Supervisor, again. I'm glad we're moving this in this direction. I think it will help assist in the costs to the users of the current sewer district when it gets up and running. By expanding it, it will lower the costs overall to each user, which will make it significantly more affordable in the long run for the people who are tying in at the first phase. So,
Thank you. Anyone else? 257? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Mr. Supervisor, I'm going to concur with Councilperson Miller Herrera. Although I have concerns about this project, and I did vote no on the project, now we're talking infrastructure. We're talking the opportunity to tie in the sewer on the opposite side of the circle. And literally, I don't think it's unsafe to assume that the burden on those who are going to be, connected on Hamburg Street could be reduced by more than half.
Over time.
Significantly,
Yes,
and, because the debt service is the debt service. So if that debt service for our town can be spread out by more people, then the cost can be reduced significantly. So I vote yes.
Okay.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
I just want to echo the same statements that Deputy Supervisor Mr. Christo has said regarding this project, as well as Ms. Miller Herrera. I think many people are going to benefit from this, in addition to those people who are also going to be benefiting from the Whispering Pines Senior Living District. So I vote yes.
Mr. Tomaso?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, Resolution 257-18 passes. Resolution 258-18.
Authorize the supervisor to authorize payment to Jerry Adak, Web Development, 1410 Curry Road, Apartment 314, Schenectady, New York, 12306, for website development services at an hourly rate of $75.
Okay, motion, please.
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou, second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question?
Mr. Supervisor, we are working to update our website and make it user-friendly and provide as much information as possible. One of those things that we hope to get up and running is fillable forms, things that the residents can submit from home, so they don't necessarily have to come into town hall for everything. So, but we're moving in that direction, and the meetings have been going well on this, and I think it's quite promising where we're headed.
Thanks. Okay, anyone else?
Mr. Supervisor, I just want to thank Councilman Guidarelli on his technical knowledge and all these computer-related issues that he's taken at the helm, and I think he's doing a great job, and we appreciate his recommendations.
Yeah, thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
I have to agree. I think Councilman Guidarelli has been doing an outstanding job. I attended one of the meetings where we were talking with some potential vendors in this matter, and he's done an outstanding job. And hopefully we're bringing us right into the 21st century with our IT stuff in this town and with our town board. So thank you, Joe.
You're welcome. Thank you for the kind words. And one of our main objectives for our website is going to be just better communication with the residents. What we're trying to get in place, like Samantha said, is online forms, give our residents the ability to communicate with us and us having quick access back to the residents.
I think, Joe, also we're talking, also just basic notifications too, as we progress, snow emergencies,
Yes.
parking, odd even parkings, other news, newsletters and things of that nature. We haven't, again, it's still the entry level in the planning board, but we have great expectations for the outcome on this new development.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Tomaso?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, Resolution 258-18 passes. Resolution 259-18.
The town board of the town of Rotterdam hereby authorizes the town supervisor to enter into a purchase contract and execute all documents necessary to effectuate the purchase of an 8.28 plus or minus acre land located at 301 Von Roll Drive, Rotterdam, New York, 12306, in an amount not to exceed $492,000.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone on the question? Do you want to describe?
Yes, Mr. Supervisor, Highway Superintendent Larry Lamora has been working closely with our board in order to assist us in securing a new piece of property for our highway garage, which is desperately needed. We have issues with the salt pile on Dwaynesburg Road. This property, which is located across the street from our sewer treatment plant, will allow the supervisor and his highway department to have a properly built to-code salt shed, most likely in the future, perhaps a compost facility, a new garage, his mechanics and everything all at one location. It's really a good opportunity for the town, and it puts us in a position to look at things in the future, avoid conflicts with agencies like the Department of Environmental Conservation. And frankly, I'm very excited about this land purchase, and hopefully, again, we can get some help from our state legislators to get the things not done that we need to get done.
And just as far as the state legislators go, I know Senator Amador has been very supportive, working with us. We applied for a salt building grant. I like to call it a shed because it's much larger than a shed. Salt building grant, so we're crossing our fingers that we'll get those resources. We already set aside money in the past for future purchases for our highway department. Some of those funds will be used. We also utilized for this purchase. We also have funds in our unreserved account, if you will, that we'll be able to utilize as well for the land purchase. It's a longer term project. In other words, our first, hopefully if things work out over the next couple of months and we can get this finalized, we will be moving our brush operation there. We will hopefully receive the grant and put our salt building up, and then begin the process of cleaning up the property that we do have on Duanesburg Road and getting it ready for sale itself, and then in the future building a new highway department on this new property. Also, as far as the gas pumps, we have gas pumps right now on Duanesburg Road at our highway department. Those have to be upgraded. The cost just for upgrade is in the tens of thousands of dollars to put in new pumps. What we're doing is we're working with the county, and at some point we'll just be gassing up over at Keller Avenue on the county property and doing it that way rather than have us have our own gas pumps and all of the environmental concerns that come along with that as well. So I think this is great for us for the long term. We did have our highway property appraised also. That appraisal came in at about $500,000 as well. So hopefully in the near future, as we get things moving, we'll be able to kind of even out what we did here with the purchase of this property also. So we have a motion by Mr. Christie, a second by Mr. Guidarelli. Anyone else on the question? Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Because we're able to pay for this in cash and we won't be financing it and shifting any additional burden to our taxpayers, I will vote yes.
Mr. Signor?
Before I vote yes, which is what I'm going to do, this is a long overdue project. It's the first step to a long overdue project. I remember working there in the summers 37 years ago, dating myself now, and I don't think anything's changed in the last 37 years over there because I went back and visited it. So again, it's another chance to get us moving forward and being more into line with other municipalities and getting us more advanced and into the 21st century with dealing with our roads and salt sheds, sand, etc. So I vote yes.
Mr. Thomaso?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, Resolution 259-18 passes. Resolution 260-18.
The Town Board of the Town of Rotterdam hereby authorizes the Town Supervisor to enter into a purchase contract and execute all documents necessary to effectuate the purchase of a parcel of land known as 1220 Main Street, Rotterdam Junction, New York, 12150, and an amount not to exceed $75,000.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Signor. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, seconded by Mr. Christou. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Mark, would you call the roll?
Mr. Christo?
Yes.
Mr. Guidarelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
I'm reluctant on how to vote on this, but keeping in mind that we have grant funding that is on the line with this transaction. I have to note that I'm not in agreement with the proposal that was submitted, but I will agree and vote yes to authorize our town supervisor to enter an agreement for an amount not to exceed $75,000 to purchase this property, so I'll vote yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomaso?
So, explain my vote also. This piece of property is located, as it says, on Main Street in Rotterdam Junction. It is a property that's known as Young's Auto. Over the years, it used to be a functioning auto repair shop for many, many years. It's fallen into disrepair, but the more important piece is that this piece of property is located right in front of our wells for the water that supplies people's homes in Rotterdam Junction. This property needs to be cleaned up. We have had in the past, and this is where one of the discussions that we had during our agenda meeting, that we have had commitments from the county in the past to assist us with the cleanup of this property, but it's about protecting our water. And there's other properties located in the town that really, for the long-term vitality and cleanliness of our water, we have to work together. We have done this already. The county has worked with us in the past, with the town in the past, to secure properties in order to protect our watershed. And we'll do the same. We'll do the same here, hopefully. But know that that's what this is about. We did receive a grant of about $48,000 towards the purchase of this property. And again, I will be working with the county after this resolution passes to further this land purchase. So I vote yes.
5 yes.
Resolution 260-18 passes. Resolution 261-18.
Authorize the comptroller to amend the title of the budget appropriation line descriptions to reflect the current title of employees.
Okay, may I have a motion, please?
I'll move.
Motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Ms. Miller Herrera. Anyone on the question? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolution 261-18 passes. Now we have consent items 262, 263, and 264-18.
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to accept consent items 262, 263, and 264-18.
Okay, so we have a motion by Mr. Christou. Is there a second, please?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Signor. Anyone on the question? On any of the resolutions? Okay, Ms. Marco, would you call the roll, please, for 262, 263, and 264-18?
Steve, do you want me to read them like I have?
You can if you'd like to. Get.
262-18, amend resolution 245-18 to reflect the correct amount for the highway department diesel expenditures. 263-18, accept town clerk's report for the month of August. And 264-18, authorize budget transfers by the town comptroller to various accounts for 2018. Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gitterelli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
5 yes.
Okay, resolutions 262, 263, and 264-18 pass. At this time, does anyone have committee reports? I have a couple things I'd like to discuss, but I'd like to give you all an opportunity first before I.
Should I wait on the miscellaneous or should I go?
If you want to, go ahead.
All right, there's a couple things that I want to bring to people's attention. And I'm going to lead with something else, and then I'm going to respond to Mr. Mealy's concerns as best as I can. The location of my business kind of makes my place the Mayberry Barber Shop. And I hear a lot from a lot of people, okay? And one of the first questions I always get is, what's happening with this building, okay? First of all, let me say that we love getting communication from our residents. They brought things to our attention that might have fallen through the cracks. It's always nice to hear from people in our town so we can do, remember, this is a part-time government. We all have obligations to our families and our businesses and our jobs. And any pair of eyes, any information, any observation that can make our town better is always welcome. Where it gets a little disturbing is when people send anonymous things that are quite scathing, and in all honesty, kind of cowardly and insulting, okay? So I got this picture, all the board members got this picture with this first paragraph. What a disgusting town we have, and you all sit back and don't do a damn thing about this long overdue building. First of all, again, there's no name attached to it, so that's shameful, because what I've asked our people in the Department of Public Works to do is to create a timeline to let you all know that nothing could be further from the truth, okay? November 5th, 2017, the building caught on fire. On February 2nd, which is, towards the end of the winter, the owner of the building applied for a building permit to repair the structure, okay? So, again, he went through the process, which is available to him as a owner of a building, no different than if your house burned and you wanted to rebuild it. On March 1st, a month later, the building permit to repair the structure was approved and the owner was contacted. On July 13th, now, the developer received a call from the town on the 1st of March saying he has received his building permit. April went by, he never came and picked it up. May went by, he never came and picked it up. June went by, he never came and picked it up. On July 13th, both building inspector Mickey Mahar and building safety inspector Tom Squires received a phone call. They drove to the site and they noticed someone was taking contents out of the gun store. And when they inquired about that, he told them, you need to see his uncle who owns the building. So on July 13th, he called the property owner to inquire about his plans for the building and to inform him that his permit to repair the building is still waiting to be picked up. The owner stated that his original plans have changed and now he intends to demolish the building. Tom informed him that this would also require a demolition permit. The owner expressed a desire to bring the building down as soon as possible, that a contractor would be in on Monday, July 16th to pick up a demo permit. July 16th came and went, never happened. On July 25th, Tom Squires called the owner to inquire about the status of the project. And he stated that he had that he noticed that the owner of this building had an ad on Craigslist looking for someone to demolish the building. Okay? It is laughable in a lot of ways. But again, your town officials are they're keeping after it. Tom informed him that his current building permit to repair the building has been voided, and the Department of Public Works is still waiting for a demolition permit to be submitted. On August 22nd, a notice of violation was dropped off to the owners of the property via a process server, okay? It was kind of gray whether he received it or not, but on August 23rd, we received a phone call from Mr. Papalizio's secretary wanting to set up a meeting. On August 28th, Building Safety Inspectors Tom Squire and Town Attorney met with the owner and also formally served him with a notice of violation. On August 28th, after the meeting and reviewing sections 1203.5 of the Uniform Code, it was determined that the owner was not provided proper time to comply with the violation. So there was a little technical paperwork issue there. So we corrected that and we changed and we amended it to create an order to remedy. On September 10th, Mr. Squires completed the new order to remedy and is setting up a meeting to serve the owner personally with new documentations. 3 hours ago, we received an email from Mr. Squires saying that he has scheduled an appointment with Mr. Papalizio to serve him the order to remedy on Friday, the 14th, which is 2 days from today, 2:30 at his office. During our conversation, he informed Mr. Squires that he has a contract with Jackson Demolition to demolish the building. Okay? Mr. Squires called Jackson Demolition to verify this. And it was confirmed that he has a signed contract with them, and he anticipates being able to start the project in approximately 30 days. I returned an email to Mr. Squires and asked him to still serve the notice, the order to remedy, okay? But from you folks are doing nothing, I just gave you a detailed month-by-month timeline of everything that is being done. And people are entitled to their opinions, but they're really not entitled to their own facts. To the senior center, okay? Mr. Mealy, have you been in since the damage has been done?
Yes, I have. I've
Okay.
taken the brass rail, all walls up.
Okay.
Ceiling, so forth.
You know, regarding the brass rail, okay, I've been passionately involved with that because that's what I do for a living. I'm in food, okay? I'm not sure if you folks are aware, but the brass rail was was something that was costing the town money. It did not even break even. But that doesn't mean that we can't provide some sort of a venue for our seniors, kind of shape it so at least.
Excuse me, how could they make any money when it was closed?
Even when it was open and never missed a day, going back to when Molly was there. I looked at the numbers as soon as I came on board. It didn't even cover, the person in there didn't even cover their salary. But that's neither here nor there. If it's a service that our seniors want, we're gonna find a way to make it happen. Now, in the interim, you're saying they're going to the Hibernians. There's two restaurants in the town of Rotterdam right on Hamburg Street. You got Roosters, you got the Redwood Diner. I mean, support your local people right on that street for breakfast if you want to meet for breakfast once or twice a week. There's Bellevue, I won't even put my name in the mix. You have the Bellevue Cafe, you've got other places within the town. Now, that's a short-term solution,
Wait a
okay?
minute, you do support your place.
No, I'm just saying, that's what I was saying, that's not what I'm saying.
Go to the
Mr. Mealy.
Hibernian, you know why? They're getting the meals for $3.
Don't
We're
make
gonna
less
say-
weight though.
I'd be happy to come to your house, your meal, your restaurant every day of the week for $3.
Right.
But you're not gonna say.
Well, but that doesn't mean that we can't host a $3 breakfast for people once a month or something either, so that's a different conversation. Now, as far as the grant money, okay, I want you to know that the dormitory authority paperwork came to my attention via Federal Express in August of this year. That's when we received all the final contracts and paperwork from the dormitory authority. We returned it to the dormitory authority on September 3rd, okay? So, again, what I have learned, private industry versus government, is that things,
If you returned it to the dormitory authority on September 3rd of this year,
yes,
and how did you authorize $68,000 to repair the south side of the building?
From general fund, again, I said this last night, our general fund expenses.
Yeah, but
and
that was
we
a
get-
$40,000 job in
I- yeah.
2015.
Okay, I don't, if you would like to see the details of the
I have a
bids,
copy of
Mr.
that.
Let me finish, Mr. Mayor, let me speak for a moment, please. And I don't want to go back and forth with you, like, this is not the right
No, it's not
place
the
to
right
do it.
place.
But
We don't do it.
there was asbestos that had to be removed. So the bids, when they put that estimate together, I wasn't there when they put that estimate together. Maybe you were, I wasn't on the board at the time. If they said 40,000, that was whenever it was, in 14 or 15 when they did that. The bottom line is that it came back more when we put it out to bid, and that was the low bid that we received, but again, there was asbestos there. There was a lot of other work that needed to be done, so it's not as if we're waiting on anything to try to help somebody make more money on it. Believe me, that's the furthest from the truth, and that's why even with all this other work that needs to be done in the center, we need to put a plan together that's a step-by-step, month-by-month approach, quarter-by-quarter, whatever it is, in order to get all the work accomplished in as short a period of time and as for as little as possible. But at the same time, we have an opportunity, as I said last night, because we're going to be getting money from our insurance company. We have money set aside already in funds here at the town for other purposes that we're going to appropriate towards the center. We have money that we have in the grant from DASNY, which will rework that a little bit if there's an opportunity for us to, move money, as I said, from the septic system, which we don't need anymore, to, the sewer line, which should cost us a lot less money than putting in a whole new septic system, and we can reallocate those dollars to some other improvement in the center. So we're going to move towards that. We're not going to do it alone, but we can't let anyone in that building without those systems, as I've said. And more importantly, we put those requirements on business people and homeowners in the town before they can get a certificate of occupancy for anything. So we can't let you in the building if it doesn't have the proper fire and smoke equipment.
Regarding the $40,000 estimate versus the bid process, okay? Once you start, the estimate was a general estimate to apply for the grant, if I'm not mistaken.
That's what they did.
Now what happens is you put out the bid, and you get people up there that are gonna bid it, and they start inspecting, and they say, oh my goodness, you have asbestos here. Might not have been in the original, in the roof, or the roof there was, okay?
Not in the building.
So what happens is once, the devil's in the details. We didn't pay $20,000 more because we waited 2 years. We paid $20,000 more because there was, $28,000 more because there was additional work that needed to be done, okay? It's almost an apples to oranges comparison. Now, as far as the grant money, after the damage that we have all seen in there, thank God we didn't start it before this, because it would have been a waste of money,
And
okay?
your insurance company was covered. Well, let me ask you this. 4 years ago, I told those people there was the roof above the kitchen downstairs was leaking. The tile fell down while I was working on a meal, okay? Plus the tiles in the auditorium, if you look up, you know there's a leak. What you people did was go in and do a bubble gum repair.
Okay, first of all, I've only been on this board for 3 years, so this was before, this was previous administration.
This is why I'm yelling at the town. You're moving too slow. I told you 3 months ago when I was there complaining about the grass rail. We'll see the completion of Hamburg Street before we see the problem that existed with the grass rail resolved. But sure enough, Hamburg Street's gonna be done, but the senior center is still gonna be in progress.
Mr. Mealy,
How many years is it gonna be in progress?
Mr. Mealy, you really just answered your own question. You just said that they did a bubble gum repair. So are you asking us to do this right?
4
or
years,
do a-
bubble gum held up.
Right, but do you
That's
want,
how long-
right,
That's how long it
Good
took me
bubble
to
gum.
move, to do something to fix it.
right. So now we're finally addressing the roof, and we're addressing it properly, okay? I don't do bubble gum repairs. You can drive by my building and see that I don't cut
Well,
corners.
somebody did a bubble gum repair.
If I may
Couple
finish,
gallons of,
if I may
salt,
finish, okay?
batch,
You also mentioned about your stuff there, okay? I asked the professional staff assistant in the supervisor's office to send an email out to all parties involved, collecting all keys. So we want to make sure that that building is secured. We have, whoever has responded to the email has returned those keys. Again, we're taking that measure to protect your things, okay?
How are you protected against fire in the interim?
The building is checked every day. I can tell you that.
Correct.
And every hour of the day, no.
24 hours a day.
And again, we're working
They
towards the
don't do,
system, so we shouldn't go back and forth.
They don't do the Timex key anymore.
I
you
know. Mr. Mealy, we're getting there.
And then, you also answered part of
Appreciate
your
your
question
patience.
before. You said you were working there and a panel fell on you. We let the seniors in there and a panel falls and hurts somebody. Now what?
Well, you were notified that it happened, but they never,
I'm talking now, okay? Thirdly, it's not only a magic wand that the town can wave, okay? Some of these issues are Department of Health issues, and the Department of Health is gonna have to sign off on certain things, okay? We'd be more than happy to cooperate with our seniors to find backup locations and alternative locations, okay? The other thing that I wanna ask you, you mentioned something, we should have put something in the paper. I agree with you that we can improve our communication. It's, perhaps, we can set up a robocall, online, newspaper, whatever, but those suggestions we are also welcome. And I'm just gonna wrap up by saying this. I know almost all of you. I grew up with some of your children. My parents are your age. I'm a couple of years away from age 60. Do you actually think, knowing me all these years, and knowing most of us all these years, that we would purposely neglect the needs of our seniors? I think I've known you all well enough to know that, that is not our MO nor our desire, okay? We have a great respect for our seniors. We want that facility to be up and running more than anybody. I've developed a communication with one of the council members in Glenville. I ask them questions about their senior center all the time. We've talked about perhaps, getting some input from our seniors on some activities they might see in other senior centers. But believe me, it's not falling on deaf ears. And yes, when you're dealing with government entities, things do take longer than private industry. And that's just an unfortunate reality. But, thank you for your input. We always take your input seriously. But, know that you guys, as seniors, are a valuable, valuable asset to this town, and we don't take that lightly.
Mr. Mealy, also, one of the things too, that's why we're trying to upgrade the, our website and our IT, so we can send out those kinds of notices. So people can just go right online and see exactly what's going on, see the progress of things we're doing.
You had a phone number up there, nobody returned any calls. It's a phone number to the town hall. It was a week before we got a call. We got a call because I spoke to George Amador.
On what topic?
But,
All right, I apologize. Anyone else with committee reports this evening? I just want to mention a few things that did come to us, and we'll just have a quick budget discussion from me here. The Schenectady County Environmental Advisory Council Invasive Species Committee. So working together with Schenectady County, the DEC, and Cornell University's Cooperative Extension of Schenectady County. There was an inventory put together, commissioned by the town of Rotterdam and other towns in the county. So an inventory and assessment of trees, stumps, and planting sites in the streets, right-of-way, et cetera, so that we can have an adequate findings here for future issues that might arise regarding invasive species that could harm the trees that we have throughout the county, in particular throughout the town. This is a large, it's also available somehow on a PDF somewhere. God knows how long it would take to download. But this is the entire town, and tree inventory of the entire town. And Kathy Fisher, who's a town resident, Mary Warner, they were co-chairs of the SCIAC, or Schenectady County Environmental Advisory Council Invasive Species Committee, and I want to thank them for all their hard work. They put in a lot of time and effort here in a volunteer capacity, and this is something that again, we received a grant for, so I'm thankful to the state and the county for their assistance with that. I have tonight, just to give everybody on the board, just their work papers and just discuss a couple of things relative to the budget. So we'll have a budget filed on or before, when I say a budget, it was a preliminary budget that by law we have to have filed on or before September 30th of each year. What I've got here is just, and you receive all these by mail, I think, but I just want to just physically hand them out to everybody so that everyone has their own copy. This is basically the subsidiary ledger telling you what we've spent already so far this year in different appropriations, line by line, department by department. And these are the actual, and this says Budget Officer's Report for Review. So here you'll find, if you don't mind passing these down also, here you'll find different notations from department heads and maybe even myself in the right-hand column there. This doesn't mean that this is what the budget is. What this basically tells you is that this is the starting point. We do, just for everyone's knowledge, we do have our tax cap this year is 2%. So we have to be within the tax cap, under the tax cap, in order for everyone to continue to receive their star rebates and tax rebates, et cetera. That tax cap is our guide that we utilize in order to make sure that we're not expending more money than we need to. But more importantly, the good part about, I'm going to say, last year in particular, working together with Ms. Miller-Herrera, Mr. Christou, myself, and the former board members that were here, I think that we did quite a good job with our budget for this year. I also believe that we'll have an even better budget for 2019, honestly. What's happening, what you'll see here also, as you go through the budget, through these work papers, I mean, you can access our town budget online. There's not a big change from the numbers year over year outside of potentially salaries, but at the same time, we've had some salary compression over the last few years because we have had a lot of people retire and we're hiring, new people. So obviously the salaries will be a little less. And more importantly, as I was pointing out, we've consolidated some positions within the town, and we're working towards some other potential agreements with the county that will afford us an opportunity to utilize services of other municipalities instead of us doing it ourselves. And what I mean by that is not in a situation where we're eliminating jobs, but where we're doing things smarter and for less money. And that's really what we're doing. We would eliminate jobs here through attrition, and that's what we're moving towards. In the back side of the work papers that I've given you are the revenue side, is the revenue side of the budget. And you would see this also in the town budget that's available online. But most of these numbers that are in here are either the same as last year or they are estimates moving forward. What we're doing is, so one of the discussions that we had earlier during the agenda meeting was the discussion about, when something is built in town, what kind of revenue does the town receive from permit fees, the a sewer connection fee, for example, the parkland fund, and so some of those dollars and cents are included in here in this side. And importantly, when it comes to the Department of Public Works and the revenue that we're receiving through that effort, as far as new construction in town, you'll see some differences in this coming budget, because we really need to reflect, rather than which is what I did in the last couple of years also, rather than use a number that kind of floats out there, I want us to use a much more accurate number, because it helps keep the tax rate in check for everyone, because we are deriving some revenue and permitting fees that needs to be adequately accounted for in order to keep the tax rates and the user fees for water, sewer, et cetera, down. I also just asked, because we have had this discussion in the past regarding our justices and the salaries for justices. These are just a couple of surrounding municipalities. I just wanted to give you just some idea of what other municipalities are paying their justices as well for part-time positions, and compare it to those of our own community. Not to single them out, but it's always a something for myself. I know the work that the justices put in. They are sometimes there at 2 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, or Saturday, Sunday, it doesn't matter. I mean, they take those positions, they're elected to those positions, and they know what they're getting into. But in comparison to other communities, our justices are paid much less.
Aren't they the highest paid justices in the county? I believe they are. Part-time or town justices, I believe they are.
I don't believe that's accurate, but we can double check that. But we're looking at municipalities, what I've given you here, that I don't think there's municipalities that are as busy as ours. Okay,
Yes.
so we are in
You're
the
looking at
top.
municipalities where the median household income exceeds the amount that their
Correct.
part-time justices are
Correct.
being made.
But
And our
again-
median household income is
In-
59,000,
Correct.
justices at 52.
So, Ms. Miller Herrera, as the volume of the work is really what I was comparing to, not the.
I know, but we had this
just so-
discussion last year.
I know we did, I know we did.
And
And that's why
it
we're
just-
having
it
it out in
keeps
the open
coming
again
up.
today. Okay?
But can't the argument be made that there's people who would be lining up, happy to take that job if
I
they...
think you can make a lot of different arguments, but I just wanted to publicly give you those.
I
I
did
didn't
that
get
races
one.
last year.
Okay.
Sorry. I held them hostage.
So what we'll do is we will, we'll hopefully have again, we'll have our preliminary budget filed on time, as we always do, and then what Ms. Miller Herrera and the board discussed in the agenda session was to have 1 or 2 budget meetings next month, which we will do in October at an off night. So we would have a meeting, and we would just gather in the back table there for that meeting regarding the budget for 2019. And that would not be we wouldn't just be discussing town business, we would only be discussing the budget at that point in time. Okay, so anyone else have any committee reports or miscellaneous? No? Okay. Anyone want to make a motion for adjournment, or did you want to discuss something else?
Mr. Supervisor, I make a motion to adjourn.
Yeah.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Christou for adjournment, second by Mr. Signor. Ms. Mark, would you call the roll for adjournment?
Mr. Christou?
Yes.
Mr. Gabrilli?
Yes.
Mrs. Miller Herrera?
Yes.
Mr. Signor?
Yes.
Mr. Thomason?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, we are adjourned. Thank you very much for coming to the meeting this evening. Thank you.